Hi, I'm Nichole.
And I'm Christy.
And we're the Clarity Girls. And we decided to do a weekly video, but we wanted to go back to the beginning of like, how did the Clarity Girls come to be?
But since we also like to drink,
we decided to make it a spiritual event.
Yes. So we're going to be making videos and we're going to be drinking drinks. And Nichole, what do you have in your glass?
This is Sweetwater Rosé.
I have some gin and tonic.
This is the stepbrother of Red Cat. It's basically juice.
And we've already been drinking a little while, so this should be
Handful
good and fun and all of that.
So, like, we get asked a lot, how do you know your medium? How do you, like, where do your gifts come from?
So we thought that we would start with our story of how we kind of stumbled back into this stuff, because we definitely had this stuff going on when we were kids, but kind of our awakening, I guess.
Because I know you had stuff when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, so I'm very clairsentient, which means that I feel things. So I don't necessarily see things in the way that Christy does, but I feel everything. So I grew up across the street from a funeral home, and all I knew is that I could not be in a room alone. Like, that was terrifying to me. I went pee with the door open. I slept with the door open. Everything was with the door open and the lights on. I think I slept with the lights on until I was like 10. Is that normal? That's fine, right?
No, and for me it was like, just, I had little voices and little things that I interacted with, and angels and things like that, and that was pretty normal, but also part of my gift when I was a kid, and I think this is the bigger part of it for me, was that I just understood people.
Yes.
On a really deep level. I know you had that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I always knew what people needed me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember even when my aunt passed away, I remember I had come home from a school trip. I was out of town in Toronto. We went to see the Phantom of the Opera. I still can't watch the Phantom of the Opera. But I came back, and my house was just filled with people who had just found out my aunt had passed in a bad car accident. And I remember knowing I had to be happy. And I remember knowing that, like, I had to make everybody feel better because I knew how bad they felt. So I remember grieving about 4 to 5 weeks later. I remember it just fucking hit me, and I had this very specific dream about her, and I was just done.
Yeah.
And so it's like knowing, I don't know, there's just an empathic energy that comes with being intuitively sensitive, where you just know what people need from you.
Mm-hmm. Like, it just flows through your whole body, and you just kind of know how to respond. Listen, my breathing is already different.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you? Yeah, like, I'm listening to myself breathe, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That could be the gin.
Yeah, I think it might be the gin, yeah. No, that's what I meant.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or
gin.
Spirit, you never know. Gin and spirit, gin and tonic,
you know,
spirits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Christy was actually my boss. A lot of people don't know that Christy hired me. I came into her office as a very awkward
intern,
yeah. And I needed a job, so I was just trying to impress the fuck out of her.
Mm-hmm. She was a great employee, actually.
I was
really,
on my shit.
She was, yeah.
Yeah.
And so much that I wanted to hire her. So we worked for a counseling agency. So after her internship, she came and worked for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for a period of time, we worked together, and it was kind of a normal
She was
life,
like my normal
counseling.
boss.
I was like a normal boss.
Yeah.
I think I was a cool boss.
You were
though.
a great boss.
Okay,
that was like the best. Honestly, if I had to have an employment experience, that was honestly the best. I felt heard. I felt seen. You guys nailed it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So there came a point when you're doing counseling where suddenly I just started to know exactly what to say. And I know that sounds really stupid, but the big deal of it was I would get to the end of the session and not have a clue what I just said because I was channeling and I didn't realize it. And then it got to the point where I started to feel, if I was working with somebody who was grieving, I could feel their loved ones around. And I didn't know what the hell to do with that. And I'm watching a lot of Long Island Medium at this point, so I'm like, I bet I'm talking to dead people. I had that moment. And it wasn't even like a foreign thought. That's what's weird about it. Now that I think back on it, because I should have been like, no, Nichole, like, not quite right. Get your shit together. I was all in with like, yes, this is just like the Long Island Medium.
Yes.
I talk to dead people now, and that's just what I do.
Well, and I was in a place very much where I don't know, suddenly, I had loved my job. I had felt comfortable with it. I felt like I would stay there forever. I was very, very routine, and everything was the same always. And I was comfortable with that, but suddenly I wasn't. Like, I was looking around like, I don't know, this isn't the right fit for me anymore. I need to start looking for something else. Something has to change. Something has to be different.
Yeah. Well, and I remember, like, one day, so in my, like, I think I'm the Long Island medium kick, I walk into Christy's office, and again, like, thinking back on this, it's so fucking bizarre. Like, why didn't you just, like, and I think that's how you know things are divine, though, is when you know that you're saying things that are totally out of left field, and it doesn't feel wrong at the moment. Because looking back on it,
You're
like,
just in it. You just flow.
I'm
with
surprised
it, right?
you didn't fire me on the spot for, like, schizophrenia, because, you know what I mean? There's that energy when you start to tap into your intuition, and you start to tap into any mediumship if you're a medium, like I truly think most empathic people are. But if you start tapping into that shit, it does make you feel like, this isn't supposed to be happening. Like, am I still okay? And you have that, and I think that's healthy, by the way. I think if you're not questioning that, you probably should question that, like just having that healthy balance. But I remember walking into Christy's office. I sat down, and I'm pretty sure I just blankly said, I think I talk to dead people.
Well, actually, when you said
I don't
something,
remember
like,
it.
you were so nervous, like, to the point that, like, it took you 3 times to tell me. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can tell you. And at this point, I'm thinking, like, oh, shit, did she do something I'm going to have to fire her for? Like, that was really my concern. So by the time that you came out with that, I was like, oh, geez, that's cool. Like,
it's fine. It's good. Me too. And it was really like a Me Too moment. So we're talking about, like, it was a really Me Too moment. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Clarity, truly, is that we give people a lot of those Me Too moments because we normalize these weird things that have been happening for them since they were kids.
Right. That aren't really that weird,
That aren't weird,
If you talk about it with people, you'll find that
most
so many
people
people have these experiences.
Everybody feels the vibes. I mean, you can go into the hood and people are talking about vibes. Like, you know when somebody's shady. You know when somebody's off. And that's all psychic energy. We're just all calling it different things.
Right. Exactly. So, Nichole says to me, by the way, I'm a medium, and I believe at the time you also
casually
said, and by the way, your best friend keeps coming through to me, and he has some messages for you. And, when you're ready, because we didn't do it that day, but I remember leaving, and I've since learned that whenever I have a major event in my life where something is really big and important, my heart chakra will go kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And so for like 3 days, I just felt like this weight on my chest, and it felt so weird. But the only way I can describe it with words was like that I just understood that my life in that day, in that moment, was never going to be the same. I just knew.
It's totally not anywhere. Yeah. I don't think our life is anywhere comparable to 5 years ago.
Yeah. Like, I can still feel the emotional of it because it was just very, very powerful. Yeah. Just incredible.
Yeah. And I think I did a reading.
You did. Not long after that.
I did a reading not long after that for you. And I had never done a reading before, so I didn't really know even what I was doing. I just know that I had all this pressure in me to say certain things to you. And that's really all it was, is pressure to say certain things. And I'm very claircognizant, which means I just know, and that's part of my gift. I don't do a lot of things that a lot of other mediums do. I just, for whatever reason, know. I don't even sometimes know where that's coming from, but I knew for you.
And it was a really healing experience. And I think that's where people go and see mediums, because I feel like sometimes that kind of work and the kind of work that we do with soul therapy is the stuff that helps people so quickly in a different way. And that was like, with the counseling, we were starting to recognize we could help people in different ways,
We could shine a little light on them while we're talking.
And also, I was starting to see auras and spirit animals and angels with people again. And Nichole's like having people's dead grandmothers come through during counseling sessions. And we just kind of recognized we needed to make a change.
And we grew out of what we were doing. And I think that's the hardest part about a spiritual awakening, is that you start to grow out of everything. And it challenges you because it gives you the option to not grow out of things.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the option to just suck it up and stay the same. And what I was finding is even with, we were doing clarity maybe 1 day a week each, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we had this tiny hole in the wall office. It had no windows. You didn't even know if there was like a major snowstorm. I remember walking out and it was fucking white out.
No waiting room.
No waiting room. People would walk in on
So
sessions.
small.
It was just a tiny little hole in the wall office. And we did it 1 day a week. And I remember pulling into our counseling job, and I just remember like I used to love it there. And I used to just, it was home, and it was I didn't care how much I was getting paid. It was the best family environment I've ever had in my life. And
Until
I remember
it wasn't.
And it just like all of a sudden wasn't what I needed it to be anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember dreading it, and notably dreading it. And I remember thinking, God, I just wish I could go back to clarity and go back to the office. And
it also started to feel restrictive, right? Because I feel like the right situations and people show up in your life when it's time. And so we had that come in the form of a new boss who assisted us with does that make you uncomfortable? Who assisted us
she
with
blocked me.
Yeah, I think so. I think she blocked me too. But she gave us the contrast that we needed to step away.
I don't think she did a bad job. I think she just took our comfort away because it was so new. You know what I mean? So I think in the world of mental health counseling, I think she's fantastic and does her own thing in her own way, and it's right for her. And I think for us, we were really needing that comfort, that freedom, and a lot of the things that we now have at Clarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was no longer the right fit, and I was recognizing that I was no longer this person that wanted this structure and this, you have to have this specific paperwork done on this specific day. And I believe, like, I used the words bureaucratic bullshit during my review at work, and so I kind of knew it was time to leave.
Yes.
Yeah.
You did use those words.
Did.
I remember that.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that wasn't me before, but I just needed the freedom that Clarity was offering us to be able to do what we were doing in a different way. Yeah.
And I think it's hard, and I just want to say this for anybody who's like, I think it's an internal battle, and I think that's what spirituality always is. And I think that's why, even for me, I still gravitate away from it and gravitate back to it. And I have always had to find my happy medium with doing it, because I can go really far down the rabbit hole and then feel totally disconnected from reality, and then I'll try to reconnect with reality, and I'll be so far away from it that I have to so for me, it's been about balance with spirituality and balance with, you know, my life in that way, because I think for me, we call ourselves the bridge because we don't want to be too far down the rabbit hole where we can't reach people who are starting to tiptoe into the territory that we're in.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I think we want it to be a place where people feel really comfortable to connect. That's why we're drinking, really, guys. Like, we're keeping it real, you know? Like, I kind of can't feel my face right now.
I won't slap you just because we're on camera. But.
Yeah. Yeah. But, like, this is us keeping it real. This is what we do on a Friday night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, like, it's super important for us. It just is, because I think there are a lot of people in the spiritual world who are harder to relate to, and you're kind of always using that as a comparison of, like, why are they there and I can't be there? And then it makes you almost feel bad. And so, like, you know, I think what Christy and I try to represent is humanity, and, like, humanity's messy sometimes. And we have done Clarity we're coming up on our 4-year anniversary of Clarity, and it's been a lot of change, and sometimes that change isn't easy, and sometimes it's very overwhelming and tiring, and we've had to work really hard.
Sometimes.
Yeah, we've had to work really hard on faith over the past 4 years, but man, it's paid off.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's like, but understand that it's paid off, and you guys see the success that we've had, but there certainly are ups and downs, and I say that because I think people who are trying to dive into, like, what they're passionate about and what they're excited about, understand that there's probably going to be some bumps in the road, and that it's going to be tough circumstances sometimes, and
Yeah.
it really is like Nichole was saying, that test of your faith, and are you willing to stick this out?
Absolutely, and I just think for everybody it's different, and that goes for like entrepreneurship. Is that a word?
Wow, we shouldn't say that when you're drinking.
Was it okay? Did I do
It's
all
all
right?
right.
It was
It's
like
all right.
average? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take average.
It's just a hard word.
It
for
is.
like,
I feel like I kind of okay nailed it. So whether you're starting a business or you're in your spiritual awakening, it all requires faith, and it all requires growth. And growth is messy, and growth is challenging. But if you can make it through, then you're moving in the right direction for yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, if you can kind of push through it, you at least know. And I think that's one of the things is no matter how hard it's been at Clarity, it's easier than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because you're not fighting your soul. Your soul knows you're where. Christy and I know this is it. Like, this is where we are supposed to be. This is where we're supposed to grow from. And we're not, I don't know, somebody sent me a message earlier and they're like, oh, I have to just request off for that afternoon. And I was just like, oh, I never have to request off again. Like, and that's like good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
It's great. I mean, it's the freedom. I don't know that I could ever go back to the structure of that, and I was somebody who thrived on that before, so it's...
Christy was so OCD. We're gonna end for today, but we will probably be back wearing the same clothes, drinking the same wine in about 5 seconds, so watch the next video.